Hi everyone, today I'll be taking you through a quick tutorial on how to host your Lovable application on Netlify for free and with ease. For this tutorial, you're going to need a Lovable account, a GitHub account, and a Netlify account. So, what is Netlify? Netlify is a web hosting platform that makes it really easy to deploy websites straight from your GitHub repository. No service to manage, no complex setup, just connect, deploy, and go live. It's perfect for front-end projects like Lovable apps. Here's why Netlify works so well. For starters, even if you cancel your Lovable subscription, your hosted site stays live. It's also safe, so you can test updates in Lovable without touching your live site. And finally, it's a more affordable option with a generous free tier. Now what's GitHub? GitHub is a platform for storing and managing your code. It tracks your changes and lets you collaborate with others. Think of it as a home for your project's files and the bridge between Lovable and Netlify. Now that we have an idea of what Netlify and GitHub are about, let's get started. First, create a GitHub account if you don't have one. Head over to github.com and create an account. I already have an account, so I'm just going to sign in. Great. Now that we're all signed in, let's head over to Lovable to link our projects to our GitHub. Now we're back on Lovable in the project that we wish to deploy to Netlify. All you have to do is click on the GitHub icon at the top here. Once click on it, we just select Enable GitHub Sync. So now it should be asking you which GitHub account you'd like to install lovable.dev in. So I'm just going to select one of them. Now we just have to give permission for GitHub to authorize Lovable to access our repositories. You can either give it access to all your repositories on GitHub or give it access to just a select repositories. So that's up to your discretion. So I'm just going to install and authorize now. So now that you've given Lovable access, it's going to redirect you back to the platform. So once you click on the GitHub icon again, it's going to now ask you to transfer the project to GitHub. Now that the transfer is complete, we can now view our project source code files on GitHub. As you can see, Lovable was able to push all our source code for the app we built in the platform to our repository. So now, any changes Lovable makes to our code will now be saved in our repository. This can be dangerous though, because if Lovable pushes buggy or unfinished code straight into the repository, it could break your application without you knowing. How might we solve this issue? We'd make use of branching on GitHub. A branch is like a sandbox, a copy of your project where you can safely make changes. The main branch is the default branch where Lovable updates your code to. But this can be problematic because if something breaks, it goes live immediately or it might affect your progress so far. That's why we create other branches to store working code while we develop and test. Let's create a new branch called hosting to store our working code. So to create a new branch, we can click on the main button over here and we select view all branches. As you can see, we currently have only one branch, which is the main branch that Lovable updates. So I'm going to create a new branch over here. I'm going to call it hosting. I'm going to set its source as main, so meaning it's going to pull all its code so far from the main branch. So now we have two branches, main and hosting. Now that we've created our hosting branch, we can now host our app on Netlify. Head over to app.netlify.com to get started. Once here, click on the login with GitHub option. After logging in, it asks you a few personal questions about yourself. Once you're done filling those out, just click continue to deploy. Great, at this point your account is set up and you're ready to deploy your first project. We're just going to skip this step for now. At this point, your setup should be complete and you can now begin deploying your app to Netlify. To begin, select this option, import from Git. So now we have to choose a Git provider. So I'm going to choose GitHub. After connecting to your Git provider, in our case GitHub, you need to now select the repository you wish to deploy. That is the repository that Lovable set up for us earlier. You can search for the repository name here and select it to proceed. So I'm just going to select this repository. Now, all we have to do is configure and deploy our site. First, let's name our site. Be sure to give it a unique name that will be used to generate the site's URL. After this, we have one last step. We need to select the branch to deploy from. Remember earlier, we created a new branch named hosting. Now, we need to select this as the branch to deploy from. This step is key to ensure that whatever changes we make in Lovable to our sites do not affect our hosted site immediately unless we say so. Once we are done with that, we can go ahead and select deploy. As you can see, it says the site deployment is in progress. So now all we have to do is wait and watch Netlify do its magic. So after some time, Netlify was able to successfully deploy our site. So as you can see here, it was successfully deployed. And now once we click on this link, we can now view our site in our browser and share it to anyone to also interact with it as we may please. So here's the site that we built in Lovable that has been hosted on Netlify. One last thing I'd like to highlight in this video is how to publish the changes that we make using Lovable to our main live site that's deployed on Netlify. So over here, I'm just going to make a slight change to the site using Lovable. So I'm going to send in this prompt asking it to change the color scheme to blue. So after some time, Lovable was able to apply the changes that I mentioned. But if we go to our hosted site and we refresh the page, no changes have been made. This is because Lovable pushed the code changes to the main branch, but our hosted site is being deployed from the hosting branch. So we're going to have to now pull the changes into our hosting branch for it to reflect on the main live site. So let's go through this now. So to pull the changes from our main branch back into our hosting branch, we have to visit the GitHub repository. So while on the GitHub repository, what you have to do is visit the pull requests section. So once you click on pull request, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new pull request by clicking this button over here. So because we're trying to merge the changes from main into the hosting branch, we're going to set the hosting branch as the base. After setting hosting as the base, now we can create a pull request. So over here, we can give the pull request a title. So for example, merged with main. So once we're done, all we have to do is create the pull request. So now successfully created a pull request. After doing this, GitHub checks if there are any conflicts between the code in our hosting branch and the code on the main branch. If there are no conflicts, then we can go ahead with the merge. So once we complete the merge, then we've successfully pushed the code from the main branch into our hosting branch. So now we'll be able to see the changes live on our sites. So now I'm just going to confirm the merge. And just like that, the merge is complete. So now we can go over to our main site and see the changes we made reflect. So now we're back on our main site, and once we refresh the page, we see the changes have been made live and reflected on our main site. So now whoever we've shared this link to will have the changes we just made on Lovable. This brings me to the end of this tutorial. Make sure to like, share, and comment. Also, if you need any one-on-one assistance with an app you're building, whether it's a bug you're facing or just wondering how to go about a particular task, be sure to join our office hours sessions to gain assistance. Find out more by visiting the link in the description, quicklybuildapps.com/office hours.